Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are the 7 classical antiquity planets. Because ancient astronomers observed how certain lights moved across the sky relative to the fixed stars in the background, these were the naked eye, non-fixed objects visible in the sky to create the word planet, which comes from the Greek word asteris planeti, meaning astral or star wanderer. This also caused the mnemonic devices that were used in the past to keep track of things like this, along with festivals and other things. These mnemonic devices in the past we now identify as myth and legend. Stories that were told to children so they'd remember culture, history, or even instructions on when and where to plant were turned into stories. Stories. Like David and Goliath, an allusion to never underestimate your opponent. It will be at your peril. This is a really simple Aesop's fable way of understanding what people did with myth and legend in the past. We still do this as mnemonic devices. That was how people memorized things. Please also look up memory room or memory storage. But anyway, here we go. Saturn was named after a pre-Olympian Roman god of agriculture. It's the 6th planet from the Sun and the faintest of the 7 classical planets, as all other fainter or further away ones were discovered in the telescope age afterwards. It has a lower density than water. Please remember that it is lower in density than water, so it's more like a gigantic ball of water vapor. Its total density. Obviously, near the center of it, it's much more dense. See also the density of the Sun. A jet stream air current, much like the one seen on Earth, flows eastward, relatively speaking, at up to 200 miles per hour, on a path that appears to follow Saturn's hexagon outline at the North Pole, where there is a steep latitudinal gradient. That means the further up and down from its equator, the speed of the wind changes, hence the spot storm on Saturn. It's caused by differential in speed. If two things are going different speeds, there's going to be some sort of chaotic behavior. The speed of the atmospheric winds was duplicated by a very simple model that produced the hexagon storm via an eastward jet flowing in the curved path near the Sun's Saturn's North Pole. Small perturbations in the jet, just like you'd expect from the jostling with other air currents because they're at different speeds, made it meander through many shapes, including a hexagon at different speeds and rates, or more accurately, resonant ratios of difference in speed. The air can't all move at the same speed, and unlike the Earth, there is no mechanical, physical object underneath those storms or those high-speed winds, so it tends to have nothing stop it. So it can develop a pattern. It can start behaving like a resonance effect. This simulated hexagon that was done in a computer and also in fluid dynamic tests by just using water as a substitute spun around its center at the speeds or ratios or rates or rotations per hour or per minute close to that on the real one on Saturn. The scenario that best fits this involves shallow jets of airflow or whatever the material is at the cloud level. Winds below the cloud level apparently help keep the shape of the hexagon sharp and affect the rate at which it drifts. The bigger the difference in the rotation between the planet and the jet stream that it is the cylinder and the ring in the experiment, the fewer sides the polygon had. The more of a difference, the more it had fewer polygons. You could get all sorts of shapes, including triangles. So someone's going to flip out on that if it ever happens. The faster the ring rotated, or the faster the differential, the less circular a jet would become. In one of the illustrations, it's a green jet, because they used green-colored water dye. Small eddies formed along its edges, which slowly became larger and stronger, and forced the fluid within the ring into various shapes of polygons. They were in the opposite direction and counter to it, like ball bearings. Altering the rate at which the ring spun versus the center, scientists could generate various shapes. Quote, "We could create ovals, triangles, squares, almost anything you like. Such polygon formations have been observed in the center of major hurricanes. They're usually dissipated, but they do show up. I'll try to find a few photos and link to them later. Most planetary scientists, however, are not aware of how ubiquitous these sorts of patterns are in nature, on Earth, or in fluid dynamics, or that these are actual problems I'm just going to stick in here, for how airflow runs in a jet aircraft, and you have to create accommodations for this because you will end up with these same things happening inside of jet turbines. Basically, scientists that study the stars and planets aren't generally engineers that know about jet aircraft or how to make sure a water pump doesn't start resonating and shake itself loose from its base. See also the following commentary. Immanuel Velikovsky of Velikovsky, and his assertion that natural catastrophes were caused by close encounters between the Earth and all the other planets effectively, or any other body within the solar system, all within human memory having moved in different orbits, and has that explain all of our myths and legends of Saturn and Jupiter fighting, or other things of that nature, or the stories in the Bible. To make sure that he could have this actually work, he had to invent a new role for electromagnetic forces in counteracting gravity and orbital mechanics, which are actually what are doing it. This was to explain away the fact that changes that he proposed and everyone else proposed as literal interpretations of myth and legend violated well-understood laws of physics effects on the configuration of the solar system. So basically, here's the conclusion. Throwing together some bullshit takes a lot less effort than debunking it. Presenting some kind of concrete evidence of some real things that are then used to fabricate a tenuous connection between two unrelated things on poorly reasoned grounds isn't evidence of a greater connection. It's evidence that you're stretching it too thin. There are thousands of uncontested conspiracy theories because nonsense thrown together from random elements is still nonsense. Immanuel Velikovsky was a psychiatrist. He was not an expert in any of these areas. And even experts in areas like planetary science make mistakes because they don't cover hundreds of different things to learn about. The only reason they were able to find out about this through a computer program is when they effectively ran the default status for doing fluid dynamics and realized, oh, on very grand scales, if you use fluid dynamics, the math works about the same way. There's also an experiment that was done mixing literally mercury and water with a high-speed rotating cylinder inside of a canister, and it created the vortexes that created something very similar to the giant storm on Jupiter. You see, if you don't just limit yourself within one range of study, you're good. But if you decide that every other range of study is garbage and ignore it, you either create no answer or a fake one. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.